So first, I just want to remind you and thank the people who served on your negotiations team this year. First and foremost is Chris Dubois, who is a programmer with ETS. He's the money smart guy, so we really have him to thank for a lot of this. We had Fong Tran, who is with Foothill Workforce. We had Al Ruffinelli, who is at Foothill in the Idea Lab. We had David Gillett, who is with Central Services, and Kathleen Munsell, who's at PSME at De Anza, and then myself. And then our attorney, Bradley Booth, who kind of helps us along the way. So, yes, this is really for 2015-2016, which ends at June 30th, so it's taken almost a year to get this far. But I think what we've come up with is a pretty good package that we haven't seen in a while. And I'm going to go over the highlights, and then I think we can just open the floor to questions, because I'd rather do it that way. So first and foremost is the state was offering a 1.02% COLA. We're getting a 3% COLA, and it's retroactive to July 1. The other thing that we're getting is a 1% increase on step 7. It's also called the retention incentive. That'll be retroactive to July 1. So if you are at step 7 already and you've been there like me for 8 years and haven't gotten a step increase, you'll get 1% more. We bargained for next year our COLA already. We're going to get it beginning July 1, 2016, you'll get an additional 0.6% COLA. And the reason why we did that now instead of going through this whole process for a year and probably coming up with the same answer is there really is no money in the budget next year for a big COLA. The state is offering 0.47%. This district is in an enrollment decline, which means we get less money from the state. This district is losing, and we're going to go offline with the Flint Center Garage at De Anza starting July 1. And even though they always come up with creative ways to help students park, we know that that's disruptive. The Sunnyvale Center is opening in fall, but there's no guarantees on that enrollment. We don't expect any growth from there. And then international students, which traditionally have been a good source of income from us, because the marketplace has changed and there's so much more competition, that's been going down for us. So we just sort of felt like it was a better option for us to take the money that was there that we know is there now and go. Now, if the state comes back with their May revise that comes out in a few weeks and goes, oh, everybody's getting 10%, we'll go back and we've negotiated, you'll get what the state is offering. I don't think the state's coming back with anything more than their 0.47%, so you're going to get 0.6. The other thing, which is the first time that has, if you're a Kaiser member, hasn't happened since we moved to CalPERS, is that you will see no increases to your health benefit premiums for the 2017 plan year. So what that means is the COLA that we're getting actually gets to be a COLA and not offset the increases that we've been paying for our health benefits. The other one is that the district has agreed to a one-time payment of $800,000. $500,000 of that comes from that big, large surplus fund they have, and $300,000 of that comes from what's called the Rate Stabilization Fund, which was set up about 5 years ago, that has to deal with health benefits, and that is to go directly to the post-97 VEBA retirement fund. It's a pass through our paychecks because the Board of Trustees was definitely not interested in funding any sort of retirement. And this is sort of the district's way of having that happen. It is pre-tax dollars, you don't get taxed on it, and it should not count as part of your income. The district is still working the logistics out on that, and we probably won't see that happen in our paychecks until after July 1. And there'll be plenty of notice before any of that happens, so you'll just go, wait, what's this money? Why'd they take it away? We'll explain that, but that goes towards that post-97 fund. The other thing that we changed in Article 10, which is leaves, was just some clarification on jury duty and court appearances, and then some changes to the law regarding sick leave. For Article 11 laid-offs, this is a big one. There's a change regarding if you have been laid off your position and you are on a 39-month rehire list, and you apply for a position that is not in your classification, and you are deemed eligible, or you are deemed qualified, I should say is the more correct term, and that could be through being granted an interview, and you are not selected for the position. If an internal person is selected for the position, you have no rights to it. You have the rights to it before an external person does. You still have to apply for the position. You still have to have been deemed qualified for it. And that doesn't mean you don't get it over somebody who's internal unless they feel like you're the right person for the job. But you would get it over somebody who's external. Did I get that right? I got that right. And then the last one, which we know is going to come up again soon, is that summer 410 schedule. So we work 410s in the summer usually, but that doesn't work for everybody. And we always have this, oh, but I can't do it. Well, you have to do it. There's clarifying language that says if a 410 doesn't work for you, that they need to help you make an option for a 5.8. So it's in the contract this time. That doesn't mean you get it the way you want it. You still have to work with your boss. But I can understand for people, especially who have daycare issues, and daycare is 8 to 5, and you can't work from 7 to 6, that they'll help you find an option for that 8 to 5. And so that was the general gist of sort of the changes. So again, I want to recap. 3% COLA starting retroactive to July 1. 1% increase on step 7, retro to July 1. No cost increases to your health benefits for the 2017 plan year. And then a 0.6% COLA beginning July 1, 2016. So that's a pretty good monetary package for this year. So with that, I wanted to open it up to questions. Questions? Anybody? Lunch is too good?
You did good. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. It's not me. Really, it's these guys. Miss Becky. So the question is, this is for online, the question is, regarding the post-97 VEBA, how does that work? Are the benefits going to be similar to people who had the pre-97 lifetime medical benefits? And the answer is no. They're not the same thing. You're not going to get the same comprehensive amount of benefits that people who have pre-97. What this does, post-97, the VEBA trust, is what it does is, if you have been in service to the district for 15 years and you are Medicare eligible, which means you are 65 or older, that the trust will pay you a certain, right now it's about $100 towards your Part B Medicare cost. And right now I think that runs for a standard premium is like $121 a month. This trust would offset that by $100. You'll still need to have a supplemental plan. You would still need it doesn't cover dental or vision. So it's not on the same par, but it does help cover that Part B Medicare part that you would have to pay in addition to any other sort of outside supplemental plan that you would probably need to get. Yes?
One thing you need to understand about the VEBA is it was created as a trust and it's being contributed to by all the employees in the district. So all the employees post-97 will be able to participate in the trust. The trust is initially set up to do as Chris just said, to help offset Medicare reimbursement for those who are 65 or older. It's based on a trust that is at Sierra Community College right now. That trust currently pays a benefit of about $500 a month to everyone who is eligible for the trust. They set it up for the same reason that we set up this trust, to help compensate on a dollar amount for those folks who no longer are entitled to receive health benefits. The trust corpus, the amount of money that it has is relatively small. We started with what, $1
million.
$1 million, 500,000 from the district, 250,000 from our union, 250,000 from the faculty. That amount, when they factor out current or prospective employees, will pay out about $100 a month. But as time goes on, I think that the goal would be to fund it. So say a year comes along and you've got a 5% COLA coming. Well, if you agreed to take 4.5% and put the other 0.5% into the VEBA trust, then that VEBA trust will start making more and more money. There is trustees that are involved in administering that trust. We have a trustee, the bargaining units all have a trustee, and the administration has a trustee. They determine how that money is going to be spent in the future. So as that trust builds, and it will, then there will be more funds available to pay a benefit. But it's starting off, because the fund is not that large, paying about $100 a month to help offset your costs for Medicare. But the future potential for that trust is huge, depending upon what you as members are willing to put into the trust in the future.
What is the trust invested in? What investments?
So the question is, what is the trust invested in?
You know, they have certain fiduciary standards that they're required to. They will hire accountants, they will hire investment brokers, and they will have lawyers. So they will assure that the funds are invested in appropriate mechanisms, and they can be, you know, a variety of things. I don't think they're going to put much money into stocks and bonds, but, you know, as the trust grows, they can make various investments, and they'll report those out to you on an annual basis, so you'll have an understanding of how much money came in, where the investments were, and how much money went out.
Ms. Thomas?
Should we be thinking about making that 0.6 COLA that's next year go toward the
The question is, should we take that 0.6 that we've negotiated for next year and have it go towards the VEBA? I'm inclined more, and I think the team has been more inclined more, that we would sort of do that when there's a larger, like Bradley said, when there's a larger COLA on the table, that it doesn't hurt as much to take a little bit out because we really haven't had one. So some of the ways that we looked to offset that was that, again, we got the district to agree this year to fund another $800,000 of one-time money into the fund. So we're building up that coffer. We all currently contribute $2, $4, or $6, depending on your employee plus one, on an ongoing basis. We might want to take a look at sometimes. Maybe we all increase that by $1. That compounded has the ability to then increase the payout at the end. So those are things that we have to look at. But I would say at this point, 0.6, while it's good, we haven't really had a decent COLA not offset by increases to healthcare premiums, that we felt it was better to just put this money in people's pockets.
And the other thing you have to understand is this fund and the VEBA is controlled by all the unions and management, right? So when we meet at that joint labor management union meeting, it's there that the decision would be made to take that 0.5%. All the unions would have to agree to do it in order to make it work, okay? So, you know, at this point, the goal was to try to increase the corpus of the amount of money that's in there, and that's where we all sort of landed on the $800,000. And then the district required us to kind of get it in there in the way that they're doing it. But it will have no impact on anyone, and the money will go from the district through the employee into the fund. And it'll be $800,000 richer, so.
Other questions? Miss Lori, I can't call you Miss.
Is there staff development money for conferences?
Is there,
So there might be new people who aren't aware.
is there staff development for conferences? Yeah, we negotiated that last year, actually. So every year, the district actually gives ACE, classified members, $400,000 to attend conferences. $20,000 goes to De Anza, 12 or something goes to Foothill, and then the remainder goes to Central Services. What we were able to negotiate last year is, before there used to be a $1,000 maximum to attend a conference. You can't go to a conference on $1,000, even in state. So last year we increased it to $1,500 that you would be able to use. That's money that's set aside for us to use to go to a conference. And I know it's difficult to find them, but Mary Kay England over at Staff Development, De Anza, even though we're not at De Anza, she's very helpful and good at helping you find maybe a conference that's appropriate for what you do. Talk to your colleagues who've been here a while. They know what the conferences are. So the money is there, and the truth is, a lot of times we don't spend it all. Now, we don't have to give it back. It stays collectively to us, and we keep building on it, but it is dedicated to travel and conference, and I'd rather see people go and use that. Any other questions? No? Wow, you guys are easy. Oh, Arnema.
Can you explain
the summer hours. Can I?
Whatever you negotiated for the summer?
So what we negotiated for the summer is essentially beginning after July 1 or the July 4th holiday, I forget, they always change the date. We moved to a summer schedule, which basically everybody works 4/10s. They work 10-hour days. If you don't want to work a 10-hour days, you can offset that with unpaid time off, vacation, whatever. But that doesn't always work for everybody. Some people have legitimate reasons why they can't be away for 10 hours. They've got childcare issues or whatever. And it had sort of always been, well, you could then work with your supervisor to come up with a way for you to work your traditional 5/8s. But it's always become an issue that we've had to negotiate every single year. That some people are like, you can't do that at all. You either got to work 4/10s or nothing. And it's in the contract now that says, no, if you and your supervisor can come to an agreement that you can work 5/8 and that works for you and it works for them, that you have that option. Okay? Because that'll be coming up here faster than you realize. Get ready for Christmas. Yes, sir.
Another longevity award get added?
No, we had that on the table and they were not interested in that at all. They were really more interested in putting everything on the salary scale. So on the good side, the 1% at that step 7, it's an ongoing increase. So that was worth it to us to stick with that one. But we haven't forgotten about it. Because we know some people have been here so long and they have the curse of youth on their side and can't retire yet. And so it's something we'll just continue to try and bring back. Anything else? Does anybody have any other questions? No? 20 minutes. You guys are my favorite kind of people. We were just talking about unnecessary long meetings. So with that, I again want to thank this team that did an outstanding job. It was not an easy year. What's that? What did you say? I don't trust you. Yeah, it was a long year, and the benefit of waiting this long was we probably got 1% more on our COLA than if we had tried to settle a couple months ago. So there was some strategy to that. So, but like I said, next year's budget does not look great. I think it'll probably be status quo kind of thing, and maybe that's not a bad thing. We've had it. I'm not here. I'm not on.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, okay.
Don't stank it.
Oh, that's right. So next year's budget is, but we'll kind of wait and see, and we go back to the table next fall, and I'm sure we'll ask you and come up with another list of things that we need to negotiate. So enjoy your lunch. Oh wait, Ms. Thomas. Oh wait. The classification study. That's our favorite thing in the whole world. So last year, if you remember, we negotiated to work with the district to do a classification study. Because the last time we did a classification study was in 1998. Some of our newer members were probably, still in high school at that time. So as you can imagine how out of date and incomplete they are. So we are in the beginning process of just putting together an RFP. It is not that easy to find a company that does this, or to do a company that we can agree upon, because we've all gone with the bad ones, so we know who not to use. It's coming up with what do we really want it to look like, and and how do we administer that. The one good thing that I will say that we have been adamant about, and this is really because these guys are doing a classification study at West Valley and learning from their mistakes, is that one of the things that when we probably come back to you about this is that I will advocate for us paying for half, and that way we have a stake in the game and the district doesn't get to decide everything, because that's what they're learning happened at West Valley. So decisions are being made that adversely affect the classification study on classified members' part. So we're still in the beginning phases of just trying to figure out what that looks like. The other part that I will say is more than likely we probably won't do a compensation study part of it. And the reason why I say that is because, again, we learned from these guys, and I know it's hard for you to imagine, but Foothill De Anza pays essentially the best. And if you go look outside anywhere else, you will see it. For your same position, it's less. And so for us to go and compare ourselves, which essentially would be sort of the 10 other community colleges in the Bay Area, it wouldn't benefit us. What we can look at is the classifications that we have, and are they appropriately put in the right range? And so some of those ranges might move up, some might move down, we don't know, but we'll go from there. But based on the Foothill De Anza salary schedule, I think we're better off doing it that way. But how that totally looks like right now, we're still trying to figure out how to write that RFP so that when whatever company or person we hire to do this is very clear on what our expectations are. But the goal really, and I'll be honest with you, the goal really for this classification study, at least for me personally, is to, one, to clear up our classifications so that they make sense, that appropriate duties are being done within your classification, and that if stuff has gotten piled on because we had layoffs for quite a while, that stuff goes away or it gets redone or positions get altered. Number two, how do we make it so that there are career ladder opportunities? So if you're an admin 1 and you love what you do and an admin 2 never opens, but you're doing more and more duties because that just sort of progressively happens as the years go by, how do we figure out a way to sort of move you up that career ladder without having to wait forever, kind of stuff? I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just saying those are our goals, is to provide more opportunity, clearer job descriptions that we sort of have more input in on, and taking a look at on the salary scale if things are appropriately classified based on the duties that they're doing within Foothill De Anza. And it's not a quick process. I think Anthony was telling us you guys have been doing this now for a year and a half at West Valley? Yeah.
Classification study is not a panacea, and for any of you that have gone through the internal process of having asked for a reclassification, you know, it can be good or bad, depending upon what happens to you. I remember when I first got here, we were working with some IT folks in De Anza. It was clear that their current job description in no way showed what they were actually doing. They got the reclassification accomplished with all the appropriate duties, and somehow or other they figured that wasn't worth any additional money. So they put them at the exact same range at the same salary. So we were able to upgrade the position to accurately reflect the duties being done, but it didn't mean any more money. Well, that was really disappointing to those employees who were impacted by that. They felt that they were doing different jobs, they should be getting more money. So the key in being able to make this work is to be able to have enough influence over it that when we do that and we get those new duties, instead of being a range 52, you end up being a range 55. So if we can accomplish that, then we will in essence be able to accomplish an upgrading of our system, as Chris said, without comparing ourselves to other folks. Because once you get into the comparison game, you know, unless we're going to go down to Google or something, you know, we're scuppered. So the last thing we want to do is compare, but we need to get someone in here. We've identified a gentleman who is really good, and we're going to hope that we can get him to come in and do the study for us, because he understands it. He's been doing it since 1971. I tried to use him with the district before, and they've been a little reluctant. So we'll see how it works. So even if, you know, and maybe that's the discussion we have in the future, is if we can't agree on who it is, maybe we turn it over to them and then bring our guy in and pay him to do it rather than use their person, you know, if we're not happy with who it is. But we can figure that out, and unfortunately, it's not going to happen tomorrow.
It's not a quick process, but if you've worked here for longer than 6 months, you know that.
Yeah, I just have a clarification question on comparison.
Yeah.
So are you talking about determining what the exact job duties are, or are you talking about compensation for those duties?
So the question was about compensation. You mean as far as, what I'm talking about is when you take a look at and they're like duties and you compare them to other ranges that have those like duties, where do they fall within the Foothill De Anza salary schedule is what I'm talking about.
So compare ourselves to ourselves rather than trying to compare ourselves to other districts. Because once you start comparing yourself to other districts, you're going to find that not all your jobs, I mean, there'll be some jobs that obviously don't get paid the same as the others. But overall, in the studies that I've looked at, and there's been quite a few recently, is you guys tend to get paid more than the other folks that have comparable positions in the other districts.
Is that because our costs are high, like housing costs?
Hey, go up and down the peninsula, and it's all the same.
No, that's really not it. That's really based on Smithwick, the founding president, superintendent. They really set a model that they were going to hire the best and they were going to pay the best, and that they have always stuck to that model. That was from the outset. So that's kind of where that comes from. Are there any other comments, questions?
Have you mentioned about the dues for May?
I have not, because Nancy's going to kill me. The other thing, thank you. The other thing, this is not related to negotiations, but just as an aside, one of the things that we promised that we would look at is the dues that we collect from you every month. We forgave them in December, and we said if we're doing okay financially, we'll take a look and see if we can forgive them again. We took a look financially, and we were able to forgive them again, and so that should be happening in your May 30th paycheck. We'll forgive the dues for another month. I'll send an email out about that. So that's a little bit of extra money based on your stuff, but every little bit helps. That's what I always tell my. $20 is, a pizza and 2 gallons of milk, right? Is there anything else related to our negotiated items? So the last thing I want to say is, again, it's online voting that will start next Monday, May 2nd. You will get an email with your specific credentials to log into the voting system. The one thing I will say that we're doing about voting that's different this time is that the reality is there's no point in us voting item by item because everything has to pass for us to approve the ratification. So it really is, do you approve all of the things that we negotiated or not? So it's gonna be yes, I approve or no, I don't. That might be a little different than what you're saying. Well, don't I get to vote yes or no on whether we get a 3% COLA? No, it's a package deal. So that will be different. So the email will come from Avos, from Bradley Creamer, who's our web guy who does all that for us. You will have through Thursday at noon to vote. And then I'll let you know the results after that. And it's that simple. And once we're done, it goes to the Board of Trustees, and everybody will see this in their July, which we get June 30th paycheck, because they want to wrap that up. And let's be kind to our people in payroll and human resources, because the next couple of months are going to be, and Irma, because the next couple of months are going to be brutal. And we apologize for that. Okay? So thank you very much. You get a half hour. Go walk outside. Go have a good time.
So clear. I like using flavor. Just fade it to black. Yeah, I saw that. Answer questions. Yeah, really cool. But blows everybody away because they go, I tell you, man, we could have gone there on the easy night. Think you remember next time? Set up. Oh yeah, so we hide these. Those are ours. So you can probably strike the camera. Go ahead and stop streaming.